Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, it's a blast from the past. The original MB&F HM8 came out in 2016, and it was automotive inspired, but what we've got here is a 2023 launch made in 33 pieces in Makrolon thermoplastic and grade 5 titanium. This is the MB&F HM8 Mark II. It is extensively automotive inspired, and automotive is the byword right here. This is for watch people who love cars. Difficult to describe the size, but it's 41.5 from side to side. If you measure it end to end without the crown, the end to end is going to be relatively compact, 43 millimeters. And then if you measure it at its thickest point, which is right about here, it's going to be 18 millimeters thick, though it doesn't quite wear that way. Of course, being polycarbonate, sapphire, and titanium, it is very, very light. A 33-piece edition. There was also one in British Racing Green and titanium that was also a 33-piece edition. So we're going to put this on the wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. It wears beautifully, actually. It's nothing like the size rating or the bare measurements would suggest. It's very short. The pivot points from side to side are actually inboard at the end of the case, so though I'm telling you 43 lug-to-lug, it actually wears like less than that. This is what's known as a driver's watch in some circles, because if your hand is on the wheel, you're looking right down through the magnifiers at the hour and the minutes, so you've got a side scroll display that allows you to drive, but also tell the time at a glance. Now, I would recommend this for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. You can see how much clearance I have on either side of my wrist and over the top, which actually exaggerates the width of a watch. You can see that both sides of the case are inboard the edge of my wrist. It's not something that's going to hide under a cuff, but that's just because of the thickest point over the hoods. Now, the strap's an interesting piece. You can see it's a combination of a sort of, I would describe it as rubber in a textile pattern. Now, it is stitched. On the underside, we have calfskin, and it uses Velcro, which is really nice because Velcro gives you infinite adjustability. Very small increments are possible with Velcro, but not a Ardeon pin or a deployment clasp that relies on perforations. We've got a buckle right here, and it is titanium. Like everything else, you can see it's MB&F branded. Max is, after all, a king of branding. There's polish and satin on that. The case includes elements of polish and satin. MB&F has Media Blast and polish on the crown, along with MB&F's distinctive double-sided battle axe motif. Makrolon, it was big in the 70s. It's a type of thermoplastic, which is a plastic that becomes pliant and formable at a certain temperature. Plexiglass is another type. Makrolon, though, is much, much harder. And when it's mixed with carbon fibers, which this is, it becomes harder still. Also, it is a remarkable combination of horology and automotive imagery. So this is designed to look like a dual cowl setup. So if you can imagine sport roadsters that have dual cowls streaming down from the headrests, think of like a third generation Ford Thunderbird 1961 to 63 with the sport roadster option and the tonneau, or more recently something like a Porsche Carrera GT where you have the fairings leading back from the headrests over a visible engine. This is exactly like that. I think the Carrera GT is probably the best likeness match for what we've got going on here. You can also see that the shaping of the sapphire, this is a very expensive sapphire to produce, so appreciate what you're looking at. A rare feat of the sapphire manufacturer's art. Of course, the sapphire manufacturing process is industrialized, but that which takes more time, even by industrial process, costs more money. Taking a look at the display, it's the same sort of side scroll we had on the original HM8. Now, the way this works is you can see the minutes scroll by with a little signal yellow index, like we're looking at a speedometer. And in fact, this will work in both directions, which is not the case of all jump hours. It is luminescent. You can see that there are some polished highlights there, which you're actually looking at if you want to really break it down. There are discs that lie flat. You can see their pivot points right here. These discs lie flat, and then there is a lens that actually shifts their image 90 degrees so you can view them from the side. So that's what's going on there. There is some lume. Let me charge it up. It's not the easiest thing to see. I wouldn't necessarily call this a well-lumed watch, so though automotive, the headlights are not terribly bright. And you can see what I mean about those discs lying flat. You can sort of see them from the top through the cover over the engine. The watch is 30 meters water resistant, which is remarkable considering how hard it is to make a complex shape water resistant. On the underside, you can see that this is the Horological Machine number 8, but it's the Mark II, using automotive nomenclature, particularly where we have British cars involved. Mark II is a common phrase for an evolution that is still rooted in the original. So you can see that we have another sophisticated sapphire and a form on the underside of the movement. Now, the movement's two pieces. It's a GP3300 on the top from Girard-Perregaux, and then it's MB&F's proprietary module on the bottom. And you can see these striations a little bit like a heat sink on an engine or finned valve covers. You can also see that there's a combination of sunray snailing and then mirror beveling. We have polished screw heads, satination. It is quite nicely done. MB&F execution is always top of the line with Media Blast titanium on the reverse side. Taking a look at the top, you can see it's a 30 joule movement. That adds a few joules to the GP base. GP makes some very fine, thin automatic bases. GP3300, JLC 889, and later 899, Zenith Elite 670. These are all high-end, thin automatics, often used in high horology applications because they have a good thin profile and also a lot of torque to act as tractors for complications. So you can see the movement's a unidirectional winder, 4 Hz beat rate. It actually does feature a hacking function, even though there is no running second here. A combination of polished screws on the top, a little bit of engine turning on the edge of the base plate. There's circular Côte de Genève on the bridges, and then if you look carefully, we have a nice mirrored bevel on the edge of the bridges, nicely done. And my favorite piece, the dramatic solarization on the barrel cover, and all this giving the watch a automatic winding 42-hour power reserve. People sometimes ask me, what are these little arrows? They are barrel letdown, to let down the energy in the barrel for the watchmaker, and also crown release to help your watchmaker find them more easily. So lots to love about this watch. It is simply full of fun, and ultimately that's why we buy watches. MB&F, run by a genuinely gracious, cool, friendly, and fun dude in Max Buser, and of course he always gives credit to every single person, even the publicists, involved in the launching of his watches, so he's a good guy on that basis as well. We need more like Max. You can buy a little piece of the world of Max with this MB&F HM8 Mark II in Makrolon. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.